Endometriosis doesn't just show up overnight. It can take years and sometimes decades for those initial lesions to grow and for symptoms to really show up. And while we still don't really have the answers as to why it shows up, I can tell you what I think caused mine. For me, it came down to two big things that I believe disrupted my body before I got my diagnosis. So if you're wondering what may be fueling your endometriosis, this may start to make a whole lot of sense. Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. I am officially 4 months post my endometriosis surgery, and so today I'm going to be sharing with you the two big root causes that I believe led to my endometriosis. If we understand the underlying causes, then maybe we can stop our endometriosis from worsening, or maybe even prevent it from growing in the first place. So for me, I believe the causes of my endometriosis were chronic stress and nervous system dysregulation, and also having poor gut health. Now, as you'll see in a minute, these two things are deeply connected. So let's start with chronic stress and how it affects our bodies. Now, first of all, stress in and of itself is not a bad thing. It's actually our body's natural way of responding to emergencies and challenges, such as when we're having a job interview, or when we're giving a public speech, or when we are doing a high intensity workout. That short burst of stress motivates us and gives us energy. But the problem begins when stress becomes chronic, when stress lasts for days and months and weeks and even years without us having the chance to actually recover from the stress or having much relief from that stress. Think of it like being in a toxic relationship, or working in a high pressure job, or maybe you're a carer for a sick or elderly family member, or maybe you're even experiencing grief or loss. For me, chronic stress kicked in when I was in university. I hated my course. I didn't feel like I was clever enough. I felt depressed and anxious. And then even when I graduated and eventually got my dream job, the stress didn't disappear. Suddenly, I felt a lot of pressure to perform, a lot of pressure to get promoted quickly. The workload was intense. I was chasing promotions, working long hours. And then even though I've switched roles, the stress hasn't stopped. I've always worked in high pressure environments. The expectations are really high and the workload is just relentless. Basically, I've just always felt like I've always been on, and like I've never been able to give my body a full chance to rest and recover. So let me explain the science. When we are stuck in a constant state of pressure, our nervous system actually gets trapped in what is called fight or flight mode. It's a survival mode that is meant for short-term emergencies, but when it is activated non-stop, our body releases tons and tons of cortisol way beyond levels that are considered healthy. That chronic cortisol overload can trigger a cascade of problems within our body. It creates and worsens inflammation, it suppresses our immune system, making it harder for our body to fight against infections and to clear away abnormal tissue growth. And then it also messes with our reproductive hormones, which is a huge issue for us as women. When cortisol is chronically high, it depletes progesterone, which is a hormone that balances estrogen. Without enough progesterone, estrogen can become dominant, and estrogen dominance is a well-known driver of endometriosis, fibroid growth, cysts, and other hormonal conditions. On the outside, we may look fine and like we have everything together. We're meeting deadlines at work, we're managing our family life, and we're pushing through. But underneath, our nervous system is stuck in a state of hypervigilance and is constantly on edge. The ongoing battles with work stress and money issues and relationship struggles, all of this is dysregulating our nervous system and creating the perfect environment for chronic conditions like endometriosis to form. And here's the key point that I don't want you to miss. Chronic stress doesn't only mess with our hormones, it also weakens our immune system. And why does that even matter? Well, it's because our immune system plays a crucial role in identifying and destroying abnormal tissue growth, like the endometrial-like lesions that are endometriosis. If our immune system is suppressed due to long-term stress, it won't be able to do its job properly. Those tissues survive, They implant into areas they shouldn't, they spread and then start causing really bad symptoms. Remember when I told you I had shingles? The typical age for shingles is like 50 years and upwards because our immune system declines as we age. Well, I got shingles when I was 32, and that was a huge sign that my immune system was struggling and under severe pressure. I know that chronic stress had a huge part to play because at that time I was under severe pressure from work. Sometimes we don't even realize how stressed we are until our body gets sick and forces us to slow down. We may think that we're coping, but our body is telling us otherwise. And then last year, I was diagnosed with Graves' disease, which is an autoimmune condition. Autoimmune conditions happen when our immune system goes rogue. It's usually worsened by chronic stress, hormone imbalances, and like other lifestyle factors. Research is actually showing a link between autoimmune conditions and endo. So if you've been stressed for years, your body may be creating the perfect environment not only for autoimmune conditions, but also for endometriosis to grow and to get worse. Stress isn't just mental or emotional, it disrupts our entire body, our hormones, our immune system, our inflammation levels. So to truly heal and manage conditions like endometriosis, we need to start seeing the whole picture and start connecting the dots between chronic stress, our immune health, our nervous system, and our hormones. Now let's talk about gut health. This is another factor that often gets overlooked when it comes to hormone imbalances and conditions such as endometriosis. Our gut is more than just digestion. It's actually a huge part of our immune system, as over 70% of our immune cells live within our gut. When our gut is in bad shape, our immune defenses become compromised, inflammation rises, and our whole body feels it. For me, I had several signs pointing towards poor gut health for over roughly 16 years. I was severely constipated. I was only going to the bathroom every few days. I was often bloated and uncomfortable. I also tended to feel quite sluggish after meals, and I had cravings for unhealthy foods, like the sugary, the salty, the processed foods. Those are often signs of poor gut health or gut imbalances. Now, I take full responsibility here because I know that my diet left much to be desired. I didn't eat enough fiber. My foods didn't have much variety. I used to eat takeaways and processed foods a bit too often, and also eating refined carbs didn't help me either. Fiber is crucial for things like healthy digestion and clearing excess hormones from our body. Without enough fiber, estrogen can get reabsorbed into our bloodstream instead of leaving our body. This can contribute to estrogen dominance, which is the same hormone that is linked to endometriosis. When our gut lining becomes inflamed or leaky, it means that tiny particles of things that shouldn't be crossing that gut lining are leaking into our bloodstream. These can be hormones like estrogen, but it also can be chemicals and toxins and sugar. Our immune system then gets activated and it triggers things like chronic inflammation. And remember, because endometriosis is a chronic inflammatory disease, this is really bad news for our health. So how do we know if we have a leaky gut? Well, here are some common symptoms. If you have digestive issues like bloating, gas, constipation, or diarrhea, or maybe you have food sensitivities or allergies that have just seemed to come out of nowhere, brain fog, difficulty concentrating, feeling fatigued, even skin issues such as rashes or eczema. These are common signs of a person with leaky gut. Now, I'm not saying that leaky gut causes endometriosis, but the extra inflammation it creates can worsen the growth of endometrial-like tissue, and it can also worsen endometriosis symptoms. Plus, a damaged gut barrier can actually confuse our immune system, making it harder for our body to fight off abnormal tissue growth, such as the endometrial lesions that stem from endometriosis. And to make things slightly more complicated, poor gut health can actually affect the way our body processes estrogen. Normally, estrogen is processed in our liver and then is eliminated through the gut. But if we have poor gut health, it means that estrogen is staying in our body and recirculating therefore contributing to endometriosis. So as you can see, poor gut health is a vicious cycle, and I honestly believe that it was a key contributor in my endometriosis. It leads to, or at least it contributes to, estrogen dominance. It confuses our immune system. It leads to inflammation. And just like endometriosis, gut health issues can take a long time to actually show up. So we may not realize something is wrong until something is really wrong. That's why I believe it's so important for us to start seeing our health holistically. Unless we address the underlying causes like our gut health, our chronic stress, our immune dysfunction, these things can disappear when we have surgeries or take pills, but they may grow back and come back even worse. They create the perfect storm, the perfect environment for endometriosis and similar conditions to start developing in our body. Poor gut health and also chronic stress, I believe, were two of the main contributors to my endometriosis. When I look back at my history and patterns, and then also now learning a lot more about endo and hormonal health and how our bodies work, it only makes sense. For you, it may be something different though. You know, we're all different. So for you, it may be genetics that are playing a part in your endo, or it could be something completely different. I'm just looking back at my history and just trying to piece things together. I think it's really important that we take some time to like look at our health in depth and also try and spot patterns. When do our symptoms feel worse, or when do they feel better? You know, sometimes it may not even be something that is happening right at that specific point in our lives. It may take up to 3 months for our body to show all of the stress that we've been experiencing, or for our hormones to change, or, you know, for things to get out of whack. So it's really important to look at our body and look at our history and try and connect the dots where possible. And these are things that our doctors may not ask us about. They may not even have time to like delve into this level of detail. So it is our responsibility to take control of our health really, and to try and make sense of it all. That's what I'm doing. I know you're on a similar journey because you're watching this. Honestly, my health issues and ongoing health issues, they've turned all of this into a passion of mine. That's why I decided to start studying health and nutrition part-time, and I've nearly finished my nervous system practitioner course, so about to get my certification in that. So I definitely plan to bring you a whole lot more videos about our hormonal health and nervous system regulation, and, you know, just keep the conversation going about fibroids, endo, PCOS, autoimmune conditions, all of these things, because these things really impact our quality of life. And these are the conversations that really matter. If this sounds like good news and things that resonate with you, if anything that I've shared in today's video resonates with you, then please do like and subscribe. Join the family over here, join the community. Also join the waitlist to the Hormone Sisterhood. That is an online membership that I'm creating for all of us endo girlies, PCOS girlies, fibroid girlies, etc. I put a lot of the education onto the YouTube channel, but the virtual membership will be about implementing this information. So how can we incorporate more stress relieving techniques into our day, whether that's gentle movement, box breathing, meditation, mindfulness? How can we practically improve our gut health and eat better, you know, support our gut, you know, our immune function, all of those things. So a lot of the practical implementation of this information, that will be in the private membership. So I'm still creating that, but it is open for you to join the waitlist. So I'll leave the link to that in the description box and down below as a pinned comment, so you can be one of the first to find out when the doors are open to that. I do hope this information just sheds some light into how our body works and how everything is interconnected, and how, you know, we need to sometimes look underneath the surface and look at the detail and look at patterns and history. So hopefully you learned a lot from today's video. Do let me know if you did, and I will see you in the next video. So take care and God bless.